There are currently 5,970 people waiting for an organ transplant in the UK. So is presumed consent the most ethical way to obtain organs for donation? This question doesn't have a simple answer, as there are many factors that can play into this, such as the responsibility of the person to donate or not donate is debatable, as each person has their own moral compass. We acknowledge that it is the patient's responsibility to put their opinion forward in the opt-out or opt-in system, giving them autonomy.
A reason to support our view that the opt-out system is the most ethical way of obtaining organs for donation is that autonomy can be conserved during this process. It's important to adhere to the ethical guidelines of the pillars of medicine, in particular autonomy, since this allows for donors to be confident in their choice and that the most ethically appropriate decisions are made, those that are in the donors' and donation receivers' best interests. Additionally, consent can always be withdrawn, and this therefore reduces any pressure that may be felt by donors, which subsequently promotes the idea of beneficence and mitigates any possible suffering. Although in the opt-out system consent is presumed, people ultimately have the control to withdraw consent if they're opposed to donating their organs or change their mind, and hence are able to reach the outcome they would have initially desired and the wishes of that person are fulfilled. Although one may argue that it would be unethical for a person to not be informed of the system, we believe that it's the responsibility of health services and professionals to inform the public. Overall, our view is that the opt-out system is a good compromise between autonomy and keeping up with demand for organs.
There is a high demand for organs and not nearly enough donors at the moment. In the last year, only 44% of people in need of a donation received one, and 408 patients died in the UK on the transplant waiting list, mainly due to this lack of donors. An opt-out system for the donor register can help with the shortage of donors. Previously, the opt-in system meant that some people who would have been happy to donate never got round to signing up, and it was assumed that they were unhappy to donate. Only around 1 in 100 of people who die in circumstances where they are able to donate their organs. The more potential donors there are, the more chance there is of getting a compatible organ. Using presumed consent is a beneficial way to increase organ donation numbers and also mostly maintain autonomy.
The largest counter-argument to our viewpoint is that presumed consent is a misnomer and a violation of the donor's autonomy. The statement of presumed consent is in itself a juxtaposition. According to the NHS, patient capacity, voluntary action and access to information are required for informed consent to take place. Yet, when a patient is not alive, they can't complete any of these actions, which subsequently dismantles the notion of consent in the first place. Some might also argue that the loss of autonomy in an opt-out situation is morally worse and more serious than vice versa. Yet, according to the Department of Health and Social Care in 2018, the majority of the population, although not all signed up, wanted to donate. Therefore, the fewer mistakes claim can be considered as a greater number will be harmed during explicit consent. It is also more likely that most of those opposed to organ transplantation have conspicuous objections that they are already aware of, and therefore are unlikely to neglect to opt out, which can't be said for those who would rather donate, as although the majority of the UK was open to donating, only 38% were registered in 2018. Finally, the view that the loss of autonomy is unequally shared between those in a presumed and explicit situation is biased towards the latter, and that the presumption in both cases is equally wrong, as it is arguably the violation of the patient's desires that harms their autonomy, not what is done to their body. Therefore, the fewer mistakes claim can be argued on equal ground.
In conclusion, we believe that when the urgent need for organs is met, alongside the conservation of autonomy by providing the population with a chance to opt out, the possible argument that autonomy is harmed is outweighed. Additionally, there will be fewer mistakes made in an opt-out system than an opt-in, as discussed, which can be taken on equal ground. Finally, and most importantly, organ donation provides life and hope from a situation of death, and the human right to life is arguably vital to the concept of human ethics and morals.